Thanks for joining all four of us on Nyberg. My guest is Bart Roccoberton, Jr., Uconn, director of the Puppetry Arts Program.
Correct.
Which is world famous.
It is.
When did you first come to Uconn?
I came up here in '75 as a student and worked through the MFA program, and then in 1990 I came back as professor.
As a kid, did you always know that you wanted to work and make puppets?
Nope.
Where did that happen?
I don't think I discovered puppets till I was 21. I was in college. I decided theater was going to be my path. Of course, I was at a university that didn't have a theater program, so I transferred, and only as I thought I was graduating did I realize I had lost 3 credits in my major. So I turned to the gentleman who was teaching me television broadcasting, and he had mentioned puppets a few times, and I asked, could I do a 3-credit gut course and get out of here? And I was a good student, and he understood what I needed. He said, okay, make a couple hand puppets, do a Punch and Judy show for me. I did my research, really wasn't interested in hand puppets, and Punch and Judy just didn't have any resonance with me. So instead I decided to make string puppets, and I did a small play by Bertolt Brecht. And little did I know that this thing I thought I was escaping school with reached out and grabbed me.
What was the moment that it said, I'm gonna do puppets? What happened? What was the seminal moment?
There was no seminal moment. I then taught at a college in South Jersey for a couple of years, and the department head, who knew I had done some puppets, kept asking for puppets in the shows, and slowly I started moving further and further in, and I was actually looking to come back to college at the master's level for lighting. I was looking. The University of Connecticut had a great lighting program, but they also had puppets. Let's go talk to Frank Ballard and see what this is about. And when I learned that I would be taking all the same lighting courses that the lighting majors were going to be doing, plus performing puppets, building puppets, I decided puppetry was the place to be.
All right, so you start building puppets, and you become the director of the program at Uconn. How instrumental were you in building what it is today?
Well, I always say that Frank Ballard created the foundation, and I've been working on the first floor and building the staircase to the second floor. And so there were a lot of changes. When Frank was in charge of the program, he had Parkinson's, and we knew he had to retire soon. And we kept asking the university, what is the future of the program? And they wouldn't respond. So it happened that Margot Rose, who lived in Waterford, and she and her husband had done the Howdy Doody puppets. They had helped to create the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center. And in the mid-'80s, the National Theater of the Deaf that was housed there received an endowment that set them up in a different location. So Margot called me and said, hey, Bart, let's go talk to George White and see whether or not we can start a puppetry program down here as a safety net for the Uconn program. And so we established the Institute of Professional Puppetry Arts. And I thought my role was to help Margot bring this along. We had representatives from Jim Henson, we had Bill Baird, the Lonely Goat Herd puppeteer. Frank Ballard was there. And at one point Bill Baird said, so who's going to direct this new program? And Margot said, Bart is.
That was your seminal moment.
Do you want some milk with that coffee I'm pouring?
Right.
So my wife and I talked, and we decided that this woman who we thought the world of thought I should do this, so I took it over.
Did you grow up in Connecticut?
I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay, but you made Connecticut your home.
It is my home.
You reminded me that 29 years ago, I chatted with you about Jim Henson, who had passed.
Yes.
What kind of a guy was he?
Jim was just amazing, and unbelievably humble for all the creativity and expression that he had in the world. He was the nicest person you could ever meet. And I remember as we talked, I had been thinking about coming down here today to talk with you, that we were talking about the things that we wouldn't see that he had been thinking about.
Interesting.
But as we know, the company has continued. There's been some really remarkable work.
Right.
His children are doing great things.
And so it goes.
Yes.
Let's take a walk down memory lane. We've got some photos. All right, so it's Bart, period. Is that shortened for something? What is that?
Oh, God. It goes back to when I was going to college initially. I sat in a bank office filling out loan forms and had wrote Bart Roccoberton, 50 times. And a woman looked at it and she said, well, that's not any good. That's not your name. Your name is Bartolo. So I went through and put a period after each one of them and said, there, now it's legal.
I knew there was something behind it. Now, who's in this picture? Or in that first one?
That is my wife and myself in the center, and then Jamie Keithline, who is continuing performing puppets with crabgrass puppets out of Vermont.
Interesting. And what was this ensemble? What did you make here?
It's our show called Elventide. I love British and Irish folk music and started researching stories, and of course the elf lore of the British Isles is remarkable. So we built a show based on that so we could sing.
Do you sing?
Oh, yeah.
Very well?
I don't think so.
All right, is this a continuation of that, or did you grow a little older, or is that younger?
This
is
is
the second picture.
This is actually when I'm at the Institute of Professional Puppetry Arts at the O'Neill Center.
Okay.
This is just before the Duchess of York came to visit us.
You know, I covered that. I remember that. Oh my gosh, it's a walk down memory lane for me too. All right, so here you are in the classroom.
Right. This is our preparation for a project that we did with the Boston Pops. When Keith Lockhart, the conductor of the Pops, asked if we could do something with them, I decided to run a semester-long class based on it that we called the Pop Seminar. And we were working with a certain set of music. I gave it to the students. Over Christmas break, I said, come back and tell me what stories you're seeing. And so, although I was the director of the program, I wanted the students to design and create the ideas.
I'll be darned. All right, here's an idea that somebody's created.
That's from the Pops Project. That is a roller skating raccoon.
Of course it is. It came out of this young man's mind.
Yes. Actually, a puppeteer who lives here in New Haven, one of our alumni, Amitar Marmol Gagne, designed the puppets, and Zach Broom is building it.
I don't think people know what goes into making a puppet. It is tedious, right? From sketches, and we've got the next picture, you know, concept, idea, build it out. The tedium, especially if it's going to be on television or film, you've really got to nail down the face, the hair, all of that.
Especially with HD now. Yeah, we have to make sure the stitches are so small you can't see them.
Wow. And how long? We're sitting next to Arthur Fielder here. How long did it take you to make that puppet?
Arthur took well over a month to make. And again, this is one that I designed and had one of my alumni build. And as she was building it, she kept suggesting design changes. So I now say that we collaborated on the design with myself and Sarah Nolan.
The jacket's great. Now this guy, who's this?
This is me.
Oh, this is you. You know, I did think it had a little bit of likeness if we can go back to that shot.
One of our alumni working out in California came back and said, hey, I've got a present for you.
And what have we done with this puppet?
Well, it sits in my classroom behind me, so I don't have to look at it.
I love that. Or you can mount it. All right, we've got some kind of an animal here.
Yes, this is Connor. 2 years ago, we worked with the Silk City Chorus, a barbershop chorus. And they wanted to do a program called I'm Your Puppet, and they found all sorts of music that they could perform for the event, and we needed a host. And I kept thinking, okay, what animal represents barbershop music? And at one point, one of them says, you know, there is this club that's called the Polecats that is a set of 10 songs that we all learn, and we can go anywhere in the world and find another polecat to sing with. And so we made a polecat as their host.
And that's a mustache.
Yeah, oh yeah, barbershop quartet.
Of course, we have that. All right, we have 3 friends here.
Yes, these are from my production of Christmas Carol. The ones on the left are clock tower figures. We had a huge clock in the center of the stage, and as time passed during the show, we would have small vignettes performed to tell little allegories of what was coming up in the show. And then the spirit of Christmas present.
And how did these ideas come to you? In the middle of the night?
Well, yeah, all different ways. I mean, the Christmas Carol was very inspirational, but my daughter says that was the year where we listened to Christmas music from June until December.
And that brought in a face and the hair and all of that. I'll be darned. All right, this is a very spindly little character.
Yes, this is Nuwa, and this is from one of our MFA projects. We had a woman from China come to work with us, and for her MFA project, she wanted to deal with the Cultural Revolution in China. And so she started with the creation myths of China. Nuwa is a character who comes in and works with mud and forms humans.
I'll be darned. All right, this is the exhibit that is underway right now.
Yes.
And there's, how many puppets are in here of yours?
Almost 100.
100 puppets represents decades.
Yes.
And this is a scary one. Who's this?
This polar bear is actually Apollo transformed as a polar bear from Shakespeare's Winter's Tale.
Ah, okay. And the next picture is you again with a cast of characters.
Right, and a variety of characters. These are not all my own puppets, but puppets that we were working with at that time.
But they allow you into that group.
Yes.
All right, this must be the Arthur Fiedler
Yeah, the
production?
Boston Pops presentation. We got to perform in Symphony Hall in
Wow.
Boston.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a wow. And this is one of the pieces that my students designed. You see the puppeteers are all dressed in black. In puppetry, a black costume is considered the color of invisibility. And we thought this would be fine because they wanted us to perform in front of the orchestra. Normally when we work with orchestras, I like to work behind them so the audience has to watch the orchestra. And we said, well, we're in black, they'll be in their blacks. Of course, this is the first night they went into their summer whites.
Well, it's a story to tell. Next one, you've got a little guy on a tree.
This is Peter and the Wolf. And you can see Keith Lockhart, the conductor of the Boston Pops, under the branch of the tree there.
I do recognize him. And then we go to Arthur.
Yes. After our first performance with the Pops, they came to us and said, you know, well, the reason we built Arthur, when we do Peter and the Wolf, we like to work with a local celebrity to do the narration, television, radio. And we started thinking about Boston. You know, there's thousands of celebrities.
Sure.
Who should we do? And then it hit me, well, why not bring back Arthur Fiedler to narrate the music? Talked to the Pops. They said, well, we need to talk to his son and make sure this is okay. So we got permission from the son to recreate Arthur Fiedler. And as we went into the performances, we got to a point where they asked us if Arthur could conduct Stars and Stripes Forever. During our rehearsal process, I kept saying to the students, you have to learn how to read music. You know, I'm the only one in the room who can tell you when to do things without counting in my head or listening for a certain sound. So you have to learn how to read music. And when they asked if this could happen, I turned to the students and said, guess what? I get to do this. Because I can read music.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, we talked about that. Let's watch a little film about the development of Arthur over here. Over the years, who comes to you and says, you know what, we need a puppet for this show, or we're doing a stage performance? I mean, what types of things have you been able to create at Uconn over the years?
Well, we're part of the Dramatic Arts Department, and Connecticut Repertory Theater is our professional production wing. And so we add puppets to many things that aren't normally there. When the program did Bertolt Brecht's Galileo, Cosimo Medici at the age of 10 becomes the ruler of Florence. Now this is usually performed by a child. We made a puppet and his ministers dragged him around the stage. So the metaphor was very strong. Most recently we did a piece called If We Were Birds, and we created two babies that were dissembled during the show. Very powerful, moving things. We also do funny things.
Yes,
I
of
should
course.
say.
Yes. Who has called on you from Europe or from outside of this country that says we need your expertise?
I recently received a message from the State Puppet Theater of Mongolia, and they told me that they are working with Soviet-era puppets made in Czechoslovakia, and could I help them update? So there's a good possibility I might have a trip to Mongolia later this summer to work on a production of Swan Lake.
Is that just thrilling to
It
you?
is. I've done a lot of work in China and Taiwan and Hong Kong. Never would have considered that that was going to be part of my life.
It is part of your life, and as you look back on the decades, you said you didn't start out wanting to do this, but what kind of a life has it afforded you?
A very rich one. You know, not financially, but the experiences I've had, and most important, the people that I've met and have worked with, have made it a very rich life.
If I'm sitting here watching this interview and I just love these puppets and I want to figure out how I can get into this program, what's the type of person that you're looking for to make puppets?
A creative person. I modestly believe that puppetry is the center point of virtually every human creative endeavor. Okay, my grad program is a great example. We have people coming in with undergraduate degrees in dance, in clowning, in acting, in political science, religion, philosophy, English literature. If they have a creative spirit, I can teach them puppets.
It's far-reaching.
Yeah, yeah.
Getting back to Jim Henson, what did you take from him? What did you learn from him?
Well, Jim's actually the one who sent me to Uconn. You know, I like everybody else in the 70s, thought he was the thing in puppetry, and so as I got more interested in it, I wrote to him, and he wrote a letter back and saying, you know, you should go talk to Frank Ballard. And we did.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Best thing about doing what you're doing?
The people I'm surrounded by. I walk into my building, we call it the Puppet Arts Complex, and I am surrounded by students from the age of 17 up to 40, and they are all involved in creative endeavors that I walk through the door and just go, it's life-giving.
Still to this day?
To this day. I mean, today, we just had graduation on the weekend. I walked into the building, I was by myself, and it did not feel good.
Oh my gosh. Do you have summer programs as well at Uconn?
We do not have them this summer. We do have the Ballard Institute Museum of Puppetry where the exhibit currently is, and there are performances that will happen there, and workshops also happen, and they're usually led by my students.
Well, thank you so much for being Bart Roccoberton, Jr. Look for his puppets everywhere. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Spend all night kissing, and if one was right here, then who else is missing? Got a little sidetracked if I'm as a wishing to find the keys to the door, but it's also a metaphor. Need to keep locked in the grocery store of a mind. Just to save time, skip right ahead to the nice ride.